Mr. Butler.
Good morning.
Can you please state your position for the record?
I'm an investigator with the Tennessee State Board of Accountancy.
And how long have you been an investigator for the board?
Almost 15 months.
Okay. And pursuant to your duties as board investigator, did you have occasion to become briefly involved with the complaint and formal hearing against Ms. Clark?
Yes, I did.
All right. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I went to her house a couple of times. You said about the consent order, or is this about the service to be here?
Well, let's start with the consent order, Mr. Butler.
Okay. I went to her house several times in Midtown of Memphis, Tennessee, and didn't find her and left a note for her. She called me the next day in the afternoon after I'd gone by her house again and told me that she worked out at Colonial Country Club out in East Memphis. So I went by there and found her there and served her the papers.
Okay. And did you, well, first, for the record, what is a consent order briefly?
A consent order is where I believe you and the respondent have come to an agreement on what the consequences are of what they've done wrong, what they have to do, and they are signing that they agree to the terms of the punishment, so to speak.
Does the consent order represent the board's settlement offer for a given complaint?
Yes.
Okay. And on or about October 11, 2012, did you see Ms. Clark in person?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And I'd like to show you a document, please. Ask you to identify.
This is the form that I presented to her in addition to the consent order for her to sign and for me to sign as a witness. And I had two of these, one to give back to her, signed by both of us, and one that I kept and brought back to you.
And is this document a true and correct copy of the document that you had Ms. Clark sign in your presence on October 11, 2012?
Yes, it is.
And did you provide her with a copy of the consent order at that time?
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, at this time, we move to have the personal service receipt for a consent order dated October 11, 2012, pre-marked as Exhibit 1, entered into the record.
All right, admitted marked as Exhibit number 1.
All right, let's move forward a little bit, Mr. Butler. Also, pursuant to your duties as board investigator, did you go to visit the respondent again a couple months later?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And what was the purpose of that visit?
That was to give her a notice of this hearing.
Okay. And were you successful with meeting the respondent on that trip?
Yes.
And did you meet with her on or about December 26, 2012?
I did.
Mr. Butler, I'd like to show you another document and ask if you can identify it for the record, please.
Okay. Yes, this is the document that I presented to her along with the notice of hearing for her to sign as receiving it, and I witnessed her signature. And I had two of these, one that I left with her and one that I brought back.
And Mr. Butler, does this document set forth the time, date, and location of this formal hearing?
It sets forth the date. The time was sometime in the afternoon.
No, Mr. Butler. Does this document set forth the time that the formal hearing is to be held today?
Oh, yes, it does. Yes.
Okay. And does it also state that failure to attend this hearing may result in a default hearing without the respondent?
Yes.
Your Honor, this time I move that this document, pre-marked as Exhibit 2, be admitted into evidence for the record.
All right, be admitted marked as Exhibit number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. I have no further questions.
Okay. All right, you can keep your seat there, Mr. Butler.
All right.
You're going to testify. All right, and I also note on the record that there was a pre-hearing order on this case sent to Ms. Alicia Clark by my office, the Administrative Procedures Division, on January 4th, 2013, and has not been returned. So presumably it was delivered to her, and it likewise advised her the date of the hearing, the same as in Exhibit 2, and also advised her that a default would be entered if she didn't appear. So I find the department or the board has achieved good proof of service on Ms. Clark, and I'll enter an order holding her in default for failing to appear today. And Mr. Whitaker, I assume you want to proceed uncontested then?
Yes, Your Honor. I say wishes to proceed.
All right. She'll be held in default and state can proceed. You want to make any opening comments?
Just very briefly, Your Honor. Good morning, Your Honor. We've already had introductions on the record. I represent the state in this formal hearing against Respondent Alicia Clark for her violations of the Tennessee Accountancy Act of 1998 as amended and rules promulgated under that act. Conclusion of proof, the state expects to prove that Ms. Clark was at all times relevant hereto a CPA licensed by the Tennessee State Board of Accountancy, that Ms. Clark was required to complete 80 hours of continuing professional education for the 2008-2009 reporting period as part of the requirements of holding her license, that Ms. Clark failed to provide proof of completing those 80 hours of CPD credit, and that Ms. Clark also failed to respond to the CPE audit from the board as required by law. And at the conclusion of proof, the state will seek the imposition of a civil penalty and disciplinary action against her license when proof is open.
All right, thank you, Mr. Whitaker. All right, Mr. Butler, is your first offer proof?
No, Your Honor. Mr. Butler's testimony is concluded.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Butler. You took your seat back there. I assumed you were going to testify. I apologize. Sorry.
Your Honor, the state calls Mark Crocker.
All right, Mr. Crocker. You raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth so help you God?
I do.
All right. Would you state your full name on the record for us?
My name is Mark Crocker.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Crocker.
Mr. Crocker, can you please state your position for the record?
I'm the Executive Director of the Tennessee State Board of Accountancy.
And how long have you been the Executive Director for the board?
Since October of 2007.
And are you also the custodian of records for the board?
Yes, I am.
And have you reviewed Ms. Clark's licensing and complaint files prior to your testimony here today?
Yes, I have.
Has Ms. Alicia Clark ever held a Tennessee CPA license?
Yes, she has.
And what is her license number?
Her license number is 18573.
And is Ms. Clark's Tennessee CPA license current and in good standing as of the date of this hearing?
No, sir, it is not.
What is the status of her license?
It is currently expired.
And on what date did Ms. Clark's Tennessee CPA license expire?
Her license expired December 31st, 2011.
Okay. Turning now to complaint, how did Ms. Clark first come to your attention?
As a result of the CPE audit in 2008-2009, for the 2008-2009 renewal period.
Okay. And did the board ultimately open a complaint against Ms. Clark on that basis?
Yes, we did.
Okay. How often must a CPA who holds a Tennessee license renew his or her license?
Every 2 years.
Okay. And as part of the license renewal process for every Tennessee CPA, is there a legal requirement for the licensee to obtain a certain amount of CPE credit as a condition of license renewal?
If they hold an active license, yes, they must have CPE.
And how many hours of CPE must the Tennessee licensee obtain every 2 years in order to renew his or her license?
The requirement is 80 hours of continuing professional education every 2 years.
Okay. And how does the board typically determine whether or not a CPA has obtained the required 80 hours of CPE for license renewal?
There is a question on the renewal form that asks whether or not you have completed your CPE.
Okay. And pursuant to board rules, does the board ever audit CPAs to ensure that the statement on the application renewal form to the effect that the requisite number of CPE hours required to be obtained were actually completed?
Yes, we do.
And can you briefly describe that audit process for the record?
The rule requires that we audit approximately 10% of our active licensees. That is done by randomly selecting them, and we send out notices for them to submit their CPE documentation to the office.
And how does a licensee typically provide proof of completion of continuing professional education?
When they complete their CPE, they are given certificates of completion. Those are usually scanned and emailed into the office for documentation for proof.
Okay. And in this matter, prior to filing a complaint, did the board attempt to contact Ms. Clark by phone and by mail on multiple occasions regarding her CPE audit?
We did.
Was there ever any response to those attempts at communication from Ms. Clark?
No, sir, there is not.
Okay. Now, based on your review of Ms. Clark's licensing and complaint files, did Ms. Clark ever provide proof to the board that she completed at least 80 hours of CPE for the 2008-2009 reporting period as required by law?
No, she did not.
And also based upon your review of Ms. Clark's licensing and complaint files, did Ms. Clark ever respond to and or comply with the CPE audit of her license for the 2008-2009 reporting period as required by law?
No, she did not.
Thank you, Mr. Crocker. I have no further questions.
I just want to make sure I understand. So she applied for 08 and 09, and she checked off that she had completed them,
Yes, sir.
and she was selected for audit and didn't provide the document when requested. Did she also apply or send in renewal for 10 and 11, 2010, 2011,
Yes, sir, she did.
and also said she
Complied.
So her license expired 12/31/2011, just as a matter of course,
Yes, sir, because she did not renew it.
because she didn't file anything after that.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Anything else, Mr. Whitaker?
Nothing else for this witness, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Crocker. All right, other proof?
State's proof is concluded, Your Honor.
All right. Well, I find the state has shown by preponderance of the evidence that Ms. Clark was licensed as a CPA, held license number 18573, that she submitted her 2008-2009 renewal application indicating that she had completed her 80 hours of CPE credits. She was selected for audit by the board and did not provide her certificates or other proof that she completed the CPEs during that time period. And she's failed to appear today. She's been held in default. So based upon that, I will revoke her license, which is already expired.
The state actually has a proposal for Your Honor to consider.
Let's hear what you want to do with it.
Your Honor, based upon the proof submitted in this matter, the state submits it has proven its allegations by preponderance of evidence. Based on the documents and witness testimony today, the board respectfully requests that Ms. Clark's Tennessee CPA license be suspended until she provides proof to the board that she has complied with the CPE audit for the 2008-2009 reporting period. And in the alternative, if the court finds it not permissible to suspend an expired license, we would, in the alternative, move that the board not renew her license, which is also acceptable under the Accountancy Act as a remedy for violations. And we also request a total civil penalty in the amount of $850, which represents a $500 civil penalty for the violations, $200 to cover the filing costs incurred by the board in this matter, and a $150 to cover the cost of the court in this matter.
All right. Well, I don't know how we, her license is revoked now, so I think that, I'm sorry, it lapsed as of 12/31/2011, so I think that our order should reflect that she's not able to renew her CPA license until she shows compliance with the 2008-2009 CPE credits, and 850. It appears that she, at this point, that she submitted false information on that renewal application. So I think a total civil penalty of $850 is appropriate. And that's cost. You're not going to seek attorney fees or anything above that, correct?
No, Your Honor. That represents the entirety of what the state is seeking in terms of remedy for this whole hearing.
Okay, so that would cover, that you say $200 filing cost would be to the Administrative Procedures Division, my agency?
Yes, Your Honor, that's typically the fee that is assessed to the board for filing a formal hearing.
Okay. I want to be careful that because it could exceed $200. I don't know at this point without looking at it. Hadn't been much action on the file, obviously. But I think that would probably cover it. So that's fine. And your court order fee, you're estimating at $150.
Yes, Your Honor. It's my understanding that the court reporter in this matter has a flat appearance fee for a half day.
Okay.
And since we've not exceeded a half day, I believe that's the fee that will come down the pike. I'd like to go ahead and get it incorporated in the order, and then when the invoice comes in, it will be paid the way it usually is.
I see. Okay. So we'll assess a total civil penalty of $850. Well, $500 of that's a civil penalty, and $350 is cost of the court reporter and APD's fees. And her license will remain. Well, she will be unable to renew her license until she shows compliance with the 2008-2009 audit request. All right. Can you submit me a proposed order?
Yes, Your Honor. I'll be happy to draft that work.
All right. If you'll send me that electronically, I'll make any changes. I'll lead on it and get that issued. There are very few facts to be found in the matter. All right. Well, that will stand adjourned. And Mr. Crocker, what do y'all do with, say she comes back to the board and says,